A girl kicked out of school for not praising the state with the pledge of slavery. And now the Texas Attorney General is doubling down. What's in the news with stories on a killer cop update, Memphis PD spying, drug arrests up, government debt, disaster relief disaster, and a Cody Wilson update. And finally, yet another bad cop on a deputy in Florida who planted evidence dozens of times. This episode is brought to you by ZenCash, now known as Horizen, a cryptocurrency that infuses privacy, anonymity, and security done right. Also brought to you by Free Talk Live, providing you with fresh, pro-liberty content 7 days a week on more than 180 radio stations across the country.
Welcome to The Lava Flow, channeling the flow of information to the libertarian, anarcho-capitalist, voluntarist, and agorist community. Find us at thelavaflow.com. Here's your host, Roger Paxton.
Thank you for joining me this week. From the home of a 2009 study conducted by University of New Hampshire researchers that found a negative correlation between childhood spanking and IQ, this is the show that will bring you the people, places, and events that everyone in the Liberty Rebellion needs to know. You can catch me on Twitter at The Lava Flow Pod. This is episode 106, Pledge of Slavery. And it's Wednesday, October 3rd, 2018, when there have already been more than 732 people killed by police this year, and the United States debt clock shows us at more than $21,511,300,000,000 in debt. What's rustling my jimmies this week? You're about to find out. Let's do it to it. I'm thankful that I live in a country that gives me at least some semblance of free speech, and I take advantage of this every chance that I get. I sit here and do a podcast every single week basically calling for the death of government in all forms, and I've never been threatened or punished in any way for it. I also use my freedom of speech to not stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and the National Anthem every time I'm surrounded by people who stand for them. I can do that because, compared to people in many areas of the world, I am relatively free. Now that's not to say that I am free by any stretch. It is only to say that I am freer than people in, say, Iran or North Korea. Trust me, I would not be doing this show if I lived in Iran or North Korea. Call me a coward, but I have a family to live for. However, even in this country, where we are supposedly free to say what we want and express our opinions how we choose, that is not close to being the case in all circumstances. Take the case of India Landry in a Houston, Texas area high school. Last year, she was sent home from school for refusing to stand during the Pledge of Slavery. The Pledge of Allegiance. The principal told India's mother that she can't come to my school if she won't stand for the pledge. So first of all, fuck that statist principal in the neck with an American flag. After being expelled from the school, India said, "I don't think that the flag is what it says it's for liberty and justice and all that. It's not obviously what's going on in America today." Now get this shit. According to Texas law, students must recite the pledge unless they have a parent or guardian's permission to opt out. This just proves that the U.S. Constitution is not worth the paper it's written on. Unfit to exist. If a state can write a law that is in direct contravention to the U.S. Constitution, then that is reason number 1,483 why it is a useless document. The latest news in the battle between India and the state of Texas hit a new low for freedom this week when the Texas Attorney General began intervening on the school's behalf. The mother of Windfirm High School senior India Landry launched a legal battle against the Houston area school, saying that her daughter wasn't able to practice free speech. Houston attorney Randall Kalinin has filed a federal lawsuit on Landry's behalf. He argues that free speech protections also apply to silent protests. But Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton has different ideas of the freedom of speech. First of all, let's clear up something. There's absolutely no relation between me and this fucking statist, no matter what our last names are. But moving on, Paxton said, school children cannot unilaterally refuse to participate in the pledge. Requiring the pledge to be recited at the start of every school day has the laudable result of fostering respect for our flag and a patriotic love of our country. Not only did he completely admit that there is no such thing as freedom of speech in a government building that children are forced to attend, but he also specifically said that they were using the pledge of slavery as a tool of indoctrination. What the actual fuck? Have you ever seen a bureaucrat that honest before, though? Let's be honest. I mean, I've got to give him props for that, I suppose. As Mark Edge of Free Talk Live said, everything is bigger in Texas, including the bureaucrats. The lawyer for India, Killinan, has dismissed Paxton's involvement as nothing more than a political move, saying he's confident that his client will prevail and she will once again be able to sit for the Pledge of Allegiance. I hope he's right. I want to see this one go all the way to the top so we can see how many judges in our country believe that there is true freedom of speech in this country. I wish this girl the best. But this begs the question, what is wrong with the Pledge of Allegiance? Why shouldn't people who believe in freedom just stand and recite it? Let's talk about this. First, allegiance means to the liege. Thus, we are pledging ourselves to our ruler. Webster's first definition of allegiance is the obligation of a feudal vassal to his liege lord. Yeah, fuck that noise. I don't know about you, but I do not believe in rulers, and I certainly don't pledge allegiance to them. I pledge allegiance to myself, my wife, and my children. Nothing more. Enter Francis Bellamy, a pulpit-beating socialist. In the late 1800s, he scripted the pledge to indoctrinate schoolchildren to a nationalist spirit of subjugation to the state, and especially not their local community, but the large, centralized federal state. It is literally nothing more than state worship. Bellamy once stated that the training of citizens in the common knowledge and the common duties of citizenship belongs irrevocably to the state. He clearly believed in state control of education and indoctrination for a reason, and that reason was that he believed it to be the fastest way to bring about his ideal socialist America. The pledge is nothing more than a way to brainwash our kids with mechanical repetition of words that they don't understand, in order to prepare them in no uncertain terms for being good citizens when they're older. The rote repetition is there to drill it into their heads, no different than what a soldier would get in basic training. At least in the military, they call it drill for a reason, because they drill it into your head. Now, I know it may be tough, and I know that it may be uncomfortable, but I challenge you to stand up for liberty by sitting down for the pledge and national anthem whenever you hear them, especially when everyone around you is standing. Who knows? You may see someone else doing the same thing and strike up a conversation with them. Either way, people will see your silent protest and wonder, and may even ask you questions, which could open up all sorts of amazing conversations. Give it a shot and let me know your results. Good luck, guys, and keep striking the root. Have you subscribed to The Lava Flow on iTunes or any mobile device yet? Then what's wrong with you? Go to thelavaflow.com/subscribe so you don't miss a minute of the show. And while you're subscribing, make sure to leave me a 5-star rating and review the show to help others find our podcast. thelavaflow.com/subscribe.
This is Chris Spangle, and I am the host of We Are Libertarians, which you can find in iTunes, Google Play, or at wearelibertarians.com. We are a podcast that brings you all of the irreverence that modern politics deserves by examining current events from a libertarian perspective. So please, check us out at wearelibertarians.com.
It's time to shake up your podcast feed, folks, by subscribing to Lions of Liberty, the only libertarian variety show out there. Spend Mondays with me, Mark Claire, as I feature in-depth interviews with great names in the libertarian community and fun roundtable discussions.
Electric Liberty Land with me, Brian McWilliams, every Wednesday, your weekly dose of comedy, culture, and liberty.
And Felony Fridays with me, John Odermatt, where I expose injustice in the broken criminal justice system.
Find us on iTunes, Stitcher, and at lionsofliberty.com.
What's in the news? The news you need to know from a libertarian perspective.
In Killer Cop update news, Amber Geiger, the Dallas police officer who faces a manslaughter charge in the shooting death of Botham Jean, has been fired, the police department announced. Chief Renee Hall fired Geiger, 30, after a very short internal affairs investigation and hearing. The investigation concluded that Geiger engaged in adverse conduct when she was arrested for manslaughter for fatally shooting Jean at his Southside Flats apartment on the night of September 6th. Engaged in adverse conduct? Wow. The internal affairs investigation Monday was separate from an ongoing criminal investigation into the shooting. Geiger's arrest on September 9th alone is reason enough for internal affairs to decide she should be fired. The Dallas Police Department general orders, the policies that officers have to follow and are governed by within the department, allow the chief to circumvent all formal disciplinary procedures to render an immediate decision when it deems it necessary to preserve the integrity of the department. Chief Hall was asked what changed her mind about firing Geiger. She said she was told that the critical part of the criminal investigation was over. She said, "As a police chief, my job is to ensure the integrity, the highest level of integrity in this criminal investigation, and that is what I did." This is good news. However, the fact that it took this long is just silly. It took days before they arrested her for murder in the first place, and then weeks before they fired her. Clearly, they were looking for any way out of either situation. In my old stomping ground news, the legal team at Facebook has fired off a letter to the Memphis Police Department. The social media giant says MPD needs to stop creating fake accounts to monitor citizens. The September 19th letter addressed to MPD Director Michael Rawlings read in part, "The police department should cease all activities that involve fake accounts. We regard this as a breach of Facebook's terms and policies." University of Memphis law professor Stephen Mulroy said, "They're not supposed to be spying on people who haven't violated the law." MPD created a fake account under the name Bob Smith, boy that's original, to befriend and keep an eye on activists online. The ACLU took MPD to federal court, saying this violated a 1970s court order prohibiting MPD from spying on citizens. Mulroy says even though Facebook wasn't around in the 70s, the order still applies. The Facebook letter goes on to say, "We have disabled fake accounts that we identified in our investigation." According to the Electronic Frontier Foundation, Facebook deactivated 6 other fake accounts managed by Memphis police. An MPD spokesperson said, "We have received this letter. However, the account that was opened under the name of Bob Smith was deleted in the latter part of July." The spokesperson did not comment about any additional phony accounts, of course. Mulroy said, "So this is more evidence of an attitude of not really caring about that federal court order, which should be a concern to all of us." Facebook, specifically because of the MPD case, updated its guidelines for law enforcement agencies. Wow. And it's not just Memphis police doing this. You know that. Now, I'm glad to see Facebook update its guidelines, but how many times has Facebook helped cops do exactly what the MPD did without permission? ZenCash has changed their name to Horizen to better represent their transition from a pure cryptocurrency to a pioneering platform that protects consumer data. They're focusing more on the wider vision of what ZenCash was all about. The new name, Horizen, reinforces that the project is forward-thinking and visionary and will broaden the horizons of what the community can accomplish in the world using the platform. Not only is it one of the best privacy-oriented cryptocurrencies with zero-knowledge technology built into it, but they also have private chat over their network. And soon, Horizen will include the ability to publish information and go anywhere on the web, all with complete privacy. They are working toward the day when anyone will be able to build privacy-based applications on the Horizen platform and generate income from them. This will allow Horizen to bring thousands of real-life services to the community, services that provide freedom, utility, and privacy. The unique spelling of Horizen is a nod to their heritage and recognizes that they remain committed to the vision that their project was built upon. Their coin and ticker symbol remains Zen. So ZenCash is now Horizen, and Horizen is bringing privacy to life. You can learn more at horizen.global. That's HORIZEN.global. In cannabis news, marijuana arrests are rising in the U.S., even as more states legalize cannabis. There's now an average of one marijuana bust roughly every 48 seconds in this country, according to a new FBI report. The increase in marijuana arrests, 659,700 of them in 2017, compared to 653,249 in 2016, is driven by enforcement against people merely possessing the drug as opposed to selling or growing it, the data shows. Last year, there were almost 600,000 marijuana possession arrests in the country, up from 587,000 in 2016. Meanwhile, busts for cannabis sales and manufacturing dropped from 65,000 to 60,000 in 2017. The increase in cannabis possession arrests comes despite the fact that 4 additional states legalized marijuana on Election Day 2016. Don Murphy, Federal Policies Director for the Marijuana Policy Project, said in an interview, "At a time when more than 100 deaths per day are caused by opioid overdoses, it is foolish to focus our limited law enforcement resources on a drug that has caused literally zero." NORML Political Director Justin Streakle said, "Actions by law enforcement run counter to both public support and basic morality. In a day and age where 20% of the population lives in states which have legalized and nearly every state has some legal protections for medical cannabis or its extract, the time for lawmakers to end this senseless and cruel prohibition that ruins lives." Goddamned right. Overall, marijuana arrests made up 40.4% of the nation's 1,632,921 drug arrests in 2017, over 1.5 million drug arrests. Drug arrests as a whole also increased last year, up from 1,572,579 in 2016. There is now a drug bust every 19 seconds in the United States of America. While rape kits go untested for 2 decades, as we talked about last week, and when solved murders in this country have dropped from 90% in 1965 to 62% in 2015, cops are still wasting money on victimless crimes. This proves they don't care about crime, and they certainly don't care about you. They only care about ruling you. In government theft news, the federal government could soon pay more in interest on its debt than it spends on the military, Medicaid, or children's programs. Within a decade, more than $900 billion in interest payments will be due annually, easily outpacing spending on myriads of other programs. Already the fastest-growing major government expense, the cost of interest, is on track to hit $390 billion next year, nearly 50% more than in 2017, according to the Congressional Budget Office. C. Eugene Stuerl, a fellow at the Urban Institute and a co-founder of the Urban Brookings Tax Policy Center in Washington, said, "It's very much something to worry about. Everything else is getting squeezed." Gradually rising interest rates would have made borrowing more expensive even without additional debt, but the tax cuts passed late last year have created a deeper hole, with the deficit increasing faster than expected. A budget bill approved in February that raised spending by $300 billion over 2 years will add to the financial pressure. Now clearly, the New York Times here is trying to put the blame on only one of the two parties, which is bullshit. But the issue here is not tax cuts. The issue is spending. I recently took a personal pay cut. If I kept my spending at pre-pay cut levels, I would quickly be in major debt. Instead, I cut my spending, and guess what? No debt. It's really a simple fucking concept. Now, Jeffrey Frankel, an economist at Harvard, said, aside from wartime or a deep downturn like the 1930s or 2008-2009, this sort of aggressive fiscal stimulus is unprecedented in U.S. history. Interest costs already dwarf spending on many popular programs. For example, grants to students from low-income families for college total roughly $30 billion, about 1/10 of what the government will pay in interest this year. Interest payments will overtake Medicaid in 2020 and the Department of Defense budget in 2023. And this is why I get sick every time someone says libertarians are fiscally conservative, because this is happening under a fiscal policy controlled by, you guessed it, conservatives. One of the largest reaching liberty programs today is Free Talk Live, with a 3-hour radio program 7 nights a week on more than 180 radio stations across the country. They are so influential on talk radio that they are the number 27 radio program in the country, according to Talkers Magazine. They also have a daily podcast that's been voted Best Political Podcast 5 times by podcastawards.com. The hosts of Free Talk Live are street preachers for the ideas of liberty. They take the message of peace, liberty, and cryptocurrency to the masses on the radio, where they are not preaching to the choir. You can listen via podcast or live via audio streaming or the Twitch or YouTube channels at freetalklive.com. I listen to their podcast myself every single morning when I get up to get a fresh perspective on news and very, very strong libertarian perspectives. Make sure to add them to your feed at freetalklive.com. In disaster relief news, a North Carolina woman was arrested after 27 dogs and cats that she took in during Hurricane Florence were confiscated from her shelter, investigators revealed. Tammy Hedges, the founder of Crazy's Claws and Paws Animal Rescue, has been charged with practicing veterinary medicine without a license. She's also charged with soliciting a donation of tramadol, a prescription painkiller sometimes used for dogs and cats. Hedges said that she gave amoxicillin to some sick animals and also used a topical antibiotic ointment. Hedges told the News Argus of Goldsboro that she felt she had to help the animals brought to her during the storm. She said, "The owners got to evacuate. They got to save themselves. But who's going to save these animals? That's what we did. We saved them. Our mission was to save as many animals from the flood that we could." In a statement, Wayne County officials said animal control officers had serious concern regarding the practice of veterinary medicine without a license and the presence of controlled substances. Supporters are rushing to her defense. An online fundraising page collected more than $40,000 for her legal defenses. You know, it's a wonder that anyone ever tries to do the decent thing and help when needed these days after so many stories like this one. In a Cody Wilson update, Defense Distributed announced that founder Cody Wilson had resigned from the company. The company is now under new leadership. Paloma Hinderoff is taking over as director. Previously, Hinderoff served as a vice president focused on development and operations during her 3 years with Defense Distributed. Hinderoff said, when asked how the company will move on from its founder, "He's been an incredibly powerful figure, but this is about an idea. We believe in something, and that something isn't one man, it's an idea." When asked how she came to work for Defense Distributed, she said simply that she admired the company from afar. She's originally from England. She said, "It's the most effective and elegant activism I'd seen performed, and I wanted to be a part of that. It's just so beautiful, isn't it, to exercise one's rights like that, and to do so in a way that pushes authorities to allow you to. Too often people are perturbed by threats, and I found it incredible that this company persisted." Now, while I hate to see Cody pushed out of the company, I think that given the major negativity on this issue, that's the right move for the company. I hope Paloma is as much of a firebrand as Cody was, but only time will tell. Exercise your free market muscles by going to thelavaflow.com/support and giving a per episode donation of as little as $1 an episode, or use Bitcoin. Get exclusive content, rewards, and help the Lava Flow become fiscally neutral while providing you more content. thelavaflow.com/support.
Are those dry, boring, run-of-the-mill political talk shows putting you to sleep on your commute or at work? Are you ready for some fun?
Look no further. Blast Off with Johnny Rocket is a Seattle-based podcast expressing viewpoints of free markets, voluntary exchange, badass music, wicked banner, and of course, drinking.
The Blast Off doesn't shy from the truth, but always brings the party.
Let's rock and roll, Raylene.
Bring it on, Johnny.
You can check us out at thelaunchpadmedia.com/blastoff.
Again, that's thelaunchpadmedia.com/blastoff.
Launchpad Media. Always launching ideas in your direction.
And now I'm crying over you.
This is what happens when you call the cops. Say what? This is what happens when you call the cops. Come on. This is what happens when you call the cops. You get your rights violated or you all get shot. This is what happens when you
Zachary Wester, a 26-year-old Jackson County, Florida deputy, has been getting many complaints. So much so that the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, the FDLE, opened an investigation August 1st. The probe is ongoing and no charges have yet been filed. The allegations are that Wester was pulling over drivers, some with records, many unable to afford their own lawyers, and planting drugs in their cars before hauling them to jail. A number of the encounters were captured on Webster's own body camera, but it's unclear at this time how many. As the investigation unfolded, FDLE investigators briefed State Attorney Glenn Hess of the 14th Judicial Circuit. He was shown body camera footage in which Wester can be seen holding what appears to be a baggie in his hand before starting a search. Hess said, "I saw a video, and I saw still photographs that caused me to do a whole lot of things that state attorneys usually don't do." Over recent days, a torrent of motions filed by Hess and Public Defender Mark Sims have been filed in Jackson Circuit Court. Charges have been dropped in at least 48 cases that were initiated by Webster or that hinged on his testimony. A Jackson County judge ordered sentences vacated for at least 8 people locked up in prisons and other state correction facilities across North Florida. He demanded at least 5 be returned to Jackson County and released immediately. In all, some 263 cases spanning a 2-year period are under review, Hess said. Betsy White, a noted civil rights and criminal defense attorney from Jacksonville, said Wester could face charges from official misconduct, a third-degree felony, to perjury, drug possession, and even conspiracy if more people were involved. Under any scenario, if he's charged and convicted, he could face substantial time, she said. She also said, "Bad police officers do more damage to the community than we can ever know. They poison police-community relations and create distrust. So we should be glad that these types of events are coming to light. There can be no justification for this crime." Aside from the state attorney, very few people are going on the record about the Wester case. Jackson County Sheriff Lou Roberts declined to comment. Public Defender Sims did not return any phone calls. The full article on this motherfucker is on the Tallahassee Democrat website, and it gives several very detailed cases where this guy completely ruined people's lives and put them in jail with his planting of drugs. I've put a link in the show notes to this episode at thelavaflow.com/106 for you to read the full article. It is disgusting. Here's just a very few examples. One woman was charged with possession of methamphetamine and drug paraphernalia, all of which was planted by Wester. She eventually pleaded no contest and was sentenced to 4 years of probation. Her sentence was vacated on Tuesday. Another woman spent a couple of weeks behind bars before she posted bail. Her charges were consolidated and she pled no contest on January 16th to a misdemeanor paraphernalia charge, according to court records. Prosecutors told her last week her charges will also be dismissed. A man with pleaded evidence spent more than a month in jail before pleading no contest to his most serious charges, according to court records. He was sentenced last month to 18 months in prison for those charges and a previous one, according to Florida Department of Correction records. His charges from Wester's arrest were dropped Thursday. However, he remains incarcerated at the Hamilton Correction Institutional Annex in Jasper. This asshole of a cop actually lives right next door to the father of this man that he planted evidence on. Another man spent a year in residential rehab in Crawfordsville after Wester busted him for meth. His charges were recently dropped too. The wife of one of the falsely accused said, "He's ruined lives. People are losing their lives, their freedom, their children, their marriages, all because of this one man. It's not just innocent men, it's innocent children. It goes a lot deeper than everyone realizes." You know, she's right. Cops have way too much power in this country, period. How many other cops are getting away with this kind of shit every single day? How long and how many times did this cop do this before being caught? Why are we hearing so many such stories about very similar instances all the goddamn time? You can't tell me that this has only started recently and that these are isolated incidents. We are catching more now because of body cameras and video technology on cell phones. But this sort of shit has been going on for decades. And it is a near guarantee that we are only catching a very small percentage of these cases today. If there were this much corruption in a private security agency, the government would step in and shut them down instantly. Yet, when it's the government doing it, who's going to shut them down? Thank you for listening to the show this week. As always, I need to thank my favorite work partner, Jessica, for her help with the show. For the show notes to this episode, where I put links and other information that's been on this show, go to thelavaflow.com/106. I've got 3 new and 2 upgraded Patreon supporters this week. Zach L. became a brand new $2.50 per episode donor through Patreon. Zach, thank you so much for that support. Link upgraded her $2.50 per episode donation to $5 per episode using Bitcoin. Link, thank you so much. Craig D. upgraded his $1 per episode support through Patreon to a big $5 per episode. Craig, awesome. Thank you. Chris H. became a brand new $5 per episode supporter through Patreon. Wow, that's huge. Thanks, Chris. And finally, Spencer became a $10 per episode donor through Patreon. Holy shit, man. Thank you so much. All of you guys rock. So thanks to Zach, Link, Craig, Chris, and Spencer, and all of my other awesome supporters, I am at $297 per episode, or 59.4% of the way towards my next goal of $500 per episode. Thank you for all of your support, guys, really. Remember, when I hit this next goal, I'm going to be upping the content I bring you from half an hour per week to a full hour. I know you want more content from me, and I really want to give it to you, so add your pledge today to help me bring twice the lava flow that you're getting today. So exercise your free market muscles by going to thelavaflow.com/support and giving a per episode donation of as little as $1 an episode today. I want to be able to bring you more content soon, so make sure to add your donation to help make that happen. I also have 2 new Apple Podcast reviews this week. Libertarian Lumberjack says, "A Taste of True North, one of my favorite podcasts, hands down. This is the best podcast to learn how to apply libertarianism to current events and to learn about news that very few people are talking about. It's also refreshing to hear the perspective of a libertarian podcaster who's not involved in the party, especially nowadays, nothing against the others. This is the only podcast I've decided to support financially because I always find myself wanting more. Keep spreading the message of liberty." Wow, Lumberjack, thanks so much for that awesome review, and especially the financial support. That is kick-ass, man. And Spencer T. says, "Excellent content everyone should hear. Roger delivers principles and free doctrine in a way that's easily understood and captivating, as well as primarily positive with focus on peace and freedom. His passion is infectious, and he turned me from a state-loving patriotic Marine vet to a full-on voluntarist. Give it a listen. He has done more for protecting freedom than I ever did while serving." What the actual fuck, man? I don't even know what to say to that. First, this guy gives me $10 an episode. Then he gives me a review like this that hit me in all the feels. Dude, I can't even. Thank you, Spencer. I appreciate that. And if you guys have a minute and you want to hear your review on the show, please go to thelavaflow.com/Apple and leave me a rating and a review. All the cool kids are doing it. Thank you to everyone who has left me a rating and a review so far. You guys rock. To all of you who haven't, can you guys help me out and go leave a review for me right now? Go to thelavaflow.com/Apple to do that. Until next time, keep striking the root.
Thank you for listening to The Lava Flow at thelavaflow.com. Don't miss an episode. Subscribe now at thelavaflow.com/subscribe. This has been a Pax Libertas Productions podcast.